We have completed a fact-finding mission to Montenegro that we want to share with you. We came to this tiny country to see what it's all about, to see if it's somewhere we think makes the list of places where we might want to live someday, and of course to also enjoy everything the country has to offer for the short-term visitor. We'll let you know what we found out and tell you what we think are the pros and cons of living in this country that is becoming more and more popular with expats. My name is Ryan. My wife Emily and I are the Snail Travelers. The natural beauty. So after visiting Montenegro, we now completely understand why expats would choose this country as a place to come live or retire, believe me. The scenery here is not only stunning, but there is just so much variety in the magnificent landscapes that you will encounter here. Let's take a trip to the beach first. There are many beaches along Montenegro's coastline, but I'm going to focus on the beach at 𝗠𝗢𝗡𝗧 because it is probably the country's most popular beach for both long-term expats and also for short-term vacationers as well. One of the best things about the beach in 𝗠𝗢𝗧 is the size. You can see just how long this beach is in the video clip here. It stretches out along the town for several kilometers. And the great thing about 𝗠𝗢𝗧 is it's not all about the beach, if you don't want it to be, that is. 𝗠𝗢𝗧 also has a fascinating old town that I think even long-term visitors will enjoy coming back to again and again. And one of the reasons for that is it's always a different experience here every time. You will never see the same thing twice. There is always a new restaurant that maybe you didn't see before, a new alleyway to discover in the old town that you didn't know about. And yeah, it's just a charming area to come and relax and to take in the ambience. Now, 𝗠𝗢𝗧 does have a reputation for being a little bit of a party town. If that doesn't interest you, there are plenty more smaller and quieter villages along Montenegro's coastline. Okay, get your hiking boots and ski jackets ready. We're going to go to the mountains here in Montenegro next. How is it even possible that I've never heard about the mountains in Montenegro before coming here? They are, in my opinion, so underrated and so spectacular in their magnificence. Now, just to let you know, there aren't too many cities up here in the mountains. It's more just villages. So actually living in the mountains could be a little bit isolating. But they are still a spectacular place for expats who are living in Montenegro to come for a quick excursion. And maybe the peace and quiet of rural mountain living is exactly what you're looking for. If it is, then go for it. So there's a look at the beaches for expat living if you're a beach person. There's a look at the mountains if you're a mountain person. But what if you just can't decide between the coastline and the mountains? Well, I've got good news for you. You can have both at the same time. As you are seeing in the video clips here, there are mountains right along the coastline on Montenegro, especially around the area of Kotor. The magnificence of the scenery here isn't much behind what you would see in Norway or New Zealand if you ask me, and at a cheaper price, which I'll be talking about a little later in the video, by the way. Now, I'm not sure I would want to live in Kotor. It's just a little bit too touristy and too many crowds and people for us, especially in Kotor's beautiful but hectic Old Town area. But there are many other villages in the area around Kotor that are perfect for expat living and still give you the stunning natural beauty that Montenegro has to offer. The cost of living. Of course, the cost of living is one of the biggest factors expats consider when choosing somewhere to live. And Montenegro's cost of living, well, overall, I would say it's a pro because it's cheaper than most other countries on the continent. And although prices are a little bit higher than some of Montenegro's neighboring countries, prices are still overall fairly decent. Let's talk about housing costs first. That will be your biggest expense. As always, location makes a huge difference in housing costs. Kotor is going to be more expensive than other areas. The same goes for 𝗠𝗢𝗧 as well. If we were living here, we would choose a small one-bedroom apartment outside of the expensive areas. And we'd be looking at around $600 per month for a long-term lease and roughly around $125,000 for purchasing something that would be comfortable for us. Your comfort level might have a different price tag. Overall, based on our personal lifestyle, we think our total monthly spending would be about 60% of what it costs us to live a similar lifestyle in the United States. For us personally, we're looking at something around $1,600 per month. I'll put our sample budget down in the description below if you want to see some more details about this. And a great YouTube channel with videos about the cost of living in Montenegro is called Warren and Julie Travel, so check them out for some more detailed information. Of course, as always, you've got to come here yourself to find out what your costs are going to be. Transportation. All right, if you've been watching our channel for a while, then you know that our criteria for giving a pro rating to transportation is, can we live comfortably without owning a car here? We think it is easy enough to get around using public transportation here. There are plenty of buses that go all over the country, even to many of the smaller villages. Depending on where you are, you might have to make a connection in the capital, Podgorica, which sounds inconvenient, right? But remember, Montenegro is a small country, and it only takes a few hours to get from one end of the country to the other. Now, one negative side of transportation here is the traffic if you are on the roads during the peak tourist season, especially in 𝗟𝗃 when the cruise ships are in port. The other thing we like is that a lot of the time, your transportation can be your own 2 feet. Walkability is generally good, no vehicle necessary, and we like that. The food. Well, I hope you're hungry because the food here in Montenegro is fabulous. Here is a quick look at some of our favorites, starting with prosciutto. It's a thinly sliced ham that is so loved here that you can even get it at the grocery store. Now, I can't think of a sweeter way to start my day than to have a freshly fried batch of 𝗶𝗃𝗃𝗚. These little donut-like fritters bring pure joy every time I pop one in my mouth. My personal favorite Montenegrin dish is 𝗏𝗏𝗃. This is a cornmeal dish that you'll usually find more often up in the mountains. And why not start your meal with a bowl of bean soup called 𝗏𝗃𝗃𝗚. It's an especially hearty choice in the winter. And finally, for dessert, get some of this delicious almond cake. It's especially popular in the village of Perost, just outside of 𝗏𝗃. Quickfire categories. All right, let's quickly go through all of the rest of the categories, starting with the people. The Montenegrin people here are absolutely friendly, absolutely kind, and not only is this a pro, but I think it's the biggest pro about Montenegro. Safety is next, nothing to worry about. The crime rate is relatively low, and we think it's a terrific place to live if security is a top concern for you. Next is healthcare. We don't have any personal experience, but based on our research, we think the healthcare in Montenegro is perfectly adequate for basic care. The weather is going to depend on where you are in the country, but overall, we think it's okay. It's just a little colder in the winter than what we prefer, and maybe a tad bit hotter in the summer. But hey, you can't have it all, and at least it's not unbearable, even in the winter and the summer. Immigration is next, and unfortunately, this, for us, is the main drawback to living in Montenegro. It's not that difficult to get a residence permit, but you may need to spend up to 330 days per year inside the country. That's too high for us, although this rule can change. We think Montenegro is generally very clean, not too much litter around, and so that's another pro. The internet speed for us, I would say mixed. Sometimes it seemed to slow down a bit, but overall it's reliable. And finally, the language, nothing to worry about here either if you speak English. Most of the people speak basic English as well. So there you have it, my friends. I've been to 75 countries now, and Montenegro rates near the top both for visiting and living, and it's a country I think we'll be returning to again. Hey, tap that subscribe icon so that you don't miss any of our future videos. This playlist has our collection of videos from around the world, and here we have another video for you to check out. Thanks for traveling with us.